Citizens joined by legendary cricket commentator David Jackman. Good morning, Robin. How are you this morning?
Morning, I'm good, thanks.
Good. We're going to start off with your career. Absolutely fascinating. You took over 1,400 wickets in your career. What would you say got you to that?
A lot of overs. A lot of overs. I bowled an awful lot of overs.
Yeah.
And that's first. That's just first class that you're talking about there.
Yeah.
And I played a lot of cricket because I played first class cricket for 12 solid years.
Yes.
I played for obviously for 18 years for Surrey, but in that time, I came out to South Africa for 12 years.
Yes.
And so I played Currie Cup cricket for South Africa and Rhodesia as it was then.
Yeah.
So I was playing literally the whole year round, albeit that in those days you only played about 8 Currie Cup games.
True.
You didn't play that many.
True.
But it still meant playing a lot of club cricket, still meant a lot of work, a lot of hard work. And there's no doubt that as I got older anyway, I got better because I got a bit wiser.
Okay.
And I learnt my trade better.
Yes.
Being 5'9.5" and trying to bowl reasonably fast is a bit of a contradiction.
Yeah.
So it took accuracy.
Yes.
So I worked hard on being as accurate as I could.
Okay.
And that got me to where I got to in the end.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you specifically played for Western Province and Rhodesia. Or why those two teams specifically, if I may ask, or was it?
Well, I came to Cape Town in 1968 because I signed pro forwards for Surrey in 65, and by 1968 I hadn't really progressed. I was still playing in a second team. I made the odd first team match or whatever, would invariably against either the touring side, so someone that could have a rest, or universities or so. And I didn't think I was getting any better, and I needed to try and work at something and get better. So I went to the club secretary at the time. In those days, they didn't have CEOs. They had a secretary, and that was about it. Now there's hundreds of people employed at these various counties. His name was Jeff Howard. And I said, Mr. Howard, do you know anyone in either Australia or South Africa that I can go and play some club cricket this winter and maybe do a bit of coaching to earn a crust to buy a beer? So he very kindly found a guy called Tom Reddick, who was a friend of his. And Tom, who was a former Nottinghamshire player, was older than me, not older than me. And he was working out here, coaching. He'd been out here for donkey's years. And he was coaching at Plumstead High School and at Cape Town Cricket Club. So he said, tell him to get on the plane and come over. So that's exactly what I did. I met my wife here in 1970. I did 5 years in the Western Cape, played 1 year for Province, which was the first year they allowed overseas pros to play in the Currie Cup. And then I was asked to go to Rhodesia and play for them, which I did for 8 years. So that's how it all began, and my love affair with not only my wife, but with the country. And so I said to her, look, when I've finished dragging you around the world and my career's over, I'll come and live in your place. That's why I live here.
Great story. You mentioned earlier that you bowled a lot and you obviously took a lot of wickets, and you were the Wisden Cricketer of the Year in 1981, having taken 121 first-class wickets previous to summer. But you were 20 wickets above the next best. Do you just place that down to your accuracy?
I still didn't get picked for England.
Well, that's the next thing that we'll chat about, is that it was late in your career when England finally said, okay, all right, Robin, you've been called up, let's go. How did you feel? What was going through your mind? I mean, you had just been taking wicket after wicket after wicket in your career. At the end, they say, all right, have a go. How did you feel?
Well, it took a long time for them to say, come and have a go.
Yeah.
But it was understandable. I mean, the guys playing for England then, and opening the bowling for England with Willis, Botham, Chris Old, a little bit before them, the likes of John Snow, John Price.
Yeah.
So they were really really difficult people. Got really difficult people for me to dislodge because they were pretty hardened Test cricketers by then.
Yeah.
So all I tried to do was just keep doing what I was doing until maybe one day it might all happen, and it only happened eventually. I played some one-day internationals in the mid-70s, but as far as Test cricket was concerned, it only happened when, after that season that you mentioned, I wasn't selected for the tour to the West Indies. I was put on standby in case there was an injury. And my old friend Bob Willis got injured. So he came back and I went out.
Sure.
And I out-bowled the guys who were already out there in the warm-up game against Barbados after all the furore and the business of nearly getting chucked out, which is another whole story. And I out-bowled the others in that warm-up match and therefore got the nod for the Barbados Test. So it took an injury for me to eventually fly across the world and make my debut as a Test cricketer, having already played some ODIs. Yeah.
Sure. Amazing. So then, obviously, that was your career, and then you decided to get involved in commentary, and then how did that all begin, Robin? Where did you start?
I'd always fancied it. Actually, when I was a kid, my uncle was quite a good actor.
Okay.
Very good actor.
Yeah.
And I always all I wanted to do was go on stage. I wanted to be like him. And he talked me out of it. He said it wasn't a very good idea. So I said, okay, then I'm going to try and play cricket. And so there was always sort of a hankering to be on a stage.
Yes.
So the first stage that I managed to get onto was a cricket field. And then when I packed up, it's hard, you've given your life and soul to a sport. You're now 38 years old. Your body won't let you do it any longer. And you've got to find something else to do. And I kind of recognized that. And just prior to my retirement from the game, I approached a friend of my father's who worked for the BBC, a guy called Baxter. And he was the producer of Test Match Special. So I was able to, through my dad, I was able to sort of get a run in. Actually, my dad, I think, was more a friend of his dad's.
Mm.
And so I said, can I audition? Because I'm packing up at the end of the season. I'd quite like to see how I could go on radio. He said, okay, and he came up to the Oval, and we were playing one of the last matches of the season against Lancashire. And he asked me to do a little bit of commentary, radio commentary. And then he said to me, okay, I'll give you a minute to think about it. This was right at the end of the day's play. And he said, then I want a 30-second report on the day. So I did that, and of course I ran into about 45, 50 seconds because time goes by so quickly. And he said, okay, that sounds pretty good. And it stopped there. And I packed up playing, I emigrated. I wrote to him. I said, any chance of any work during the summer? And he said, I'll tell you what, if you can get yourself over here, we'll pay your daily expenses while you're working for us, and come and do such and such a test match, one test match.
Wow.
So I thought, well,
Sure.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I went over, and I mean, I didn't make on the deal because the airfare cost more than they paid me. But it didn't cost me to be in England because my folks were still there. So I stayed with them when I wasn't actually at the test match. And I made a bit of a holiday of it. And the next year, again, I had to get myself over there, and I got 2 test matches.
Sure.
And then the next year, I got 3 test matches.
Oh, wow.
And then BBC TV came to me and said, won't you, when you're not doing your stint for Test Match Special, will you come work for us? So that's how the career started. And when finally, I was clearly living in South Africa for the rest of my life, then it was SABC with Quirky, my good mate Quirky, followed by Super Sport. And then around the world with them, as it were, commentating all over the place. So I had a fantastic time. I mean, it's not every day that you get a job that you are passionate about and you love doing. And when you're too old to do it, you can stay involved with that job, which is, if you want to call it cricket, by broadcasting it. You know, I feel quite envious of today's golfers who, you know, when they're a bit knackered and they're 50 and they're not winning majors any longer, they can go on a seniors tour and still enjoy what they love doing to start with, and B, make a load more money. I sort of almost draw that as an analogy. I was very lucky.
Great. Robin, you've seen plenty of matches around the world. Is there any game that comes to mind where you just had to say, wow, that was just one of the games to experience in your lifetime that you'll probably never see
Strange
again?
enough, and the one that comes to mind is the one I didn't work.
Oh, wow.
I was sitting in my lounge. And that was the 438 game.
438 game. There we go.
I mean, that was spooky.
It was.
That was really spooky. What? I was sitting in the lounge, and my missus it was a day game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a day game.
It was a day game. And my wife was in the kitchen, and I could see, we got a lounge, and I can see through the dining room and into the kitchen, making lunch. And it was sort of late lunch. I said, let's have lunch when the players have lunch. So she said, okay. So I'd seen the first inning, punting, smashing it all over the place in Australia, walking around with a smug look on their face. Nobody's ever got 400 before, let alone chased it down.
Yeah.
And she's still preparing stuff in the kitchen when our inning starts. And about 5 overs into our innings, I said to her, how important is it what you're doing in there? Can it wait? And she said, well, I can make it wait, yeah. So I said, well, just shut it all down and come and watch for a minute, because I think something spectacular might happen.
Yeah.
We had lunch at about 7 o'clock. That was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Yeah. Beautiful to experience. Whoever was there to watch it is very fortunate.
Those that I was at and called, not so much matches, but special innings by certain people or bowling spells by certain people. You know, I'll never forget, and I'm hopeless on years, but South Africa playing India at Newlands, and Mohammad Azharuddin and Tendulkar batted.
Wow.
It was one of the most exciting afternoons of cricket that I've had the privilege to broadcast. When Stokesy from England got 200, also at Newlands.
Yeah.
I was on the air then. That was exciting.
Yeah, it was exciting.
I was on the air when Cullis got his first double, which was fantastic. And I was actually calling it. Yeah. The game was a privilege.
Yeah.
So there's a sort of moments.
Yes.
That you can sort of pick out.
Absolutely.
There when Sachin Tendulkar got his first double, and I had to interview him afterwards.
Wow.
And it was very funny because he is the most humble man you'd ever come across. So I said, the obvious question is you must be very relieved to have finally got to a double. And he said, yes, I have this nasty habit of getting out in the 170s, which is, I wouldn't mind having that habit. So when I got through 170 into the 80s, I thought, now I can do it. But I was only happy when I got to 180.
Wow.
You know, and those sort of things I'll never forget. You know, tours to the Caribbean, innings by Lara and people like that. They don't go away.
No.
You can almost remember them ball by ball. No.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If you had a look at it, South Africa's got a deep history of producing fantastic cricketers. If you could just give a summary, what do you think our best 11 would be?
Cool.
Would you want to think about that and we'll go back to it later?
No, you should have told me this 2 weeks ago. I tell you what, it's an impossible question to answer. We got back into international cricket.
Well, that would be an interesting one to look at. If we had to say since we got back to international cricket,
it's still hard.
It's still hard.
It's still hard because if you want to fill up your fast bowlers, okay, you got to go Donald.
Yeah.
Got to go Steyn.
Yeah.
This is probably actually the easiest bit. Yeah. Steyn, Donald Steyn.
Yeah, would Ntini have a shout?
Ntini, Morkel. Pollock.
Yeah.
So there's 7. So
yeah, there's so
6,
much. Yeah.
And you can only play 3.
Yeah.
Spinners. You know, there was a time when you would have said Adams, because he faster than Warney to 100 test wickets. Till they worked him out.
Yeah.
Then there's, there isn't really a plethora, so you could actually pick a team without a spinner.
It's true.
Because we used to for so many years. Batting, crikey. You'd have to, obviously, you want Cullis walking in at 4.
Kepler Vessels?
You see Kepler was so solid.
Yeah.
Up front, you'd probably keep him to have a little open with... Who do you open with?
Graham Smith?
Let's talk about Graham Smith. Definitely.
Yeah.
And captain.
Yeah.
Gary Kirsten. Kepler Vessels. So you got two opens from those 3. You got Amla.
Yeah.
There's probably people will read or listen to this and go, no, he's left out so-and-so, which is so easy.
So you've got A.B. de Villiers, you've got Mark Boucher, you've got...
Oh, well, Boucher's coming in at 7, so... Then you got, as I was saying, Amla, de Villiers, Cullis, you've got to find room for. And I'm only thinking of the reasonably recent guys. I'm not going back to Hunsey's team.
Yeah.
And the all-rounders, you've got Brian McMillan.
Adrian Caper would smack the ball.
Especially in a one-day setup, Capes would play. I don't know about the test matches. Yeah. You've got to have 15 or 16, I reckon, if not more, that you could put in any order and say, that's as good a team as we could put up.
So looking at that, and then we look to the future, you see, I would call those guys match winners, because they could any one of them could do something fantastic on a day. Do you see that happening in our current structures? Are we producing those match winners, so to say?
That's a seriously good question. My immediate reaction is no. Because we've mentioned a few already. Steyn, we've mentioned. And de Villiers, we've mentioned.
The only guy from a batting perspective that, based on his reputation, is Quinton de Kock at the moment, who's standing out to the bat.
Yeah. You see, I think this was a disaster when they asked him to go and open in the red ball game.
Yeah.
It's a totally different setup.
Yeah.
The ball swings more.
Yeah.
There's just so much. It's so different playing the red and the white ball.
Yeah.
So let him open and have a whack in the white ball game, but he must come in at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
As Gilchrist did.
Yeah.
Just do a carbon copy of Gilchrist, and which he virtually is.
Yeah. That's true.
Gilchrist opened in the white ball game, came in at 7 and got hundreds in the red ball game. But otherwise, as you say, we've had this. The problem with our cricket at the moment is that we've had this glut of retirements.
And no one...
Of top players all at the same time, and Fuff's the next to go.
Yeah.
He's not going to be around long. And we haven't foreseen it.
Mm.
And the Aussies are very clever.
Yeah, they are brilliant at this.
Seeing a bloke who's at the end of his career and almost not letting him retire, saying, I'm sorry, sunshine, you've got to make room for a youngster. That's how Ponting started. Came in at number 6.
Yeah.
And then when he was mature, he moved up to number 3, who'd retired, and the newbie came in at number 6. And that's how they built a team over a period of time, to last over a period of time.
Sure.
We don't have that system. And we've missed the boat, really.
Yeah. And you think, looking at that, is that why perhaps Markram has failed a bit? Because there's all that pressure. Like, he has to produce now. And he's new into his career, international career. He has to make runs now or be in trouble.
Yeah, I liken Markram to Cullis.
Oh, okay.
First of all, and this is a hell of a statement, he's the closest thing to Cullis that I've seen since Cullis. By the way that he plays and so on. I think he's a fantastic player. And we must remember that after Jark's first 8 or so test matches, he was only averaging about 18, 19, 20, something like that.
True.
And the selectors showed a lot of faith because they could see he was talented, and they the rest is history. And I feel that they are trying to do that with Aiden Markram as well.
Which is essential.
It's a slightly harder job because he opens.
Yes.
So you're more vulnerable, obviously, when the ball's brand new.
Yeah.
And the bowlers are fresh as daisies and so on. But then again, Jark was going in 3 when he started his career.
True.
So he had it just as tough up front. And he'll come through it.
Yeah.
He'll come through it. It's a question of what responsibilities they give him in the meantime. Are they going to make him captain as well? Or would that maybe be a good thing for him?
Yes.
Those are questions you can't really answer, even if you're the boss's selection committee or a psychiatrist. You can't. It's very hard to.
It is.
Because if you make him captain and he carries on failing, you say, well, it's because of his captaincy.
Yeah.
And if you took the captaincy away and he got 100, even if it was against a weaker team, you'd go, there you go. See, you shouldn't have made him captain. So it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But he's a quality player.
No, he is, without a doubt. Robin, to end things off, anything you're looking forward to in the cricket realm? Any competitions, the 2020 crickets? Anything specifically looking forward to? The test against England?
I've got to tell you, I can't. Yeah, certainly the test matches.
Yeah.
I'm not as excited about the game as I used to be because I'm not working any longer, which I'd love to be. So it's a strange old thing, I ought to get excited about our Zanzi
Super League.
Super League. But for some reason, it's not sort of blowing my hair back like IPL did. But I worked on IPL for the first 6.
Yeah.
And it was sensational. I mean, it was just a real eye-opener. It was a bit sort of hit and miss, but it was fantastic. The atmosphere in India is just ridiculous.
Can you imagine?
I mean, if you've got a bucket list and you haven't seen an IPL match, you'd go.
Got to go.
Go and see one.
Okay.
Anybody out there?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's a whole new experience.
Yeah.
Don't have to support anybody. Just go and feel it. Feel the experience.
Brilliant.
So that maybe, but I don't watch as much as that as I used to because I'm just kind of. I watch as much Test cricket as I can because that's the pure game.
Exactly, and I think with 2020 cricket, it's almost a carbon copy. Everyone's trying to do the same thing. Whereas Test cricket is Test cricket. There's nothing else like it.
No,
it's a beautiful thing about it.
And because it is, well, it's old cliche. It tests every single part of you.
Yeah.
Your ability, your mental strength, your fitness.
Yeah.
It's a proper test of the game.
Absolutely.
Even down to the smaller things in life, like, well, not the smaller things in life, but knowing how to play the forward defensive shot.
Oh, there we go.
Knowing how to leave the ball alone.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people, when batsmen leave the ball alone, it's actually a shot.
Yeah.
They are playing a stroke.
That's true. 100%.
A negative one, but they're playing it because it's important for their survival that they know what they can play, what they've got to leave. So I, for instance, don't see enough young kids, or really small ones, stopping the ball.
True.
Most of the schools play 25 over cricket, limited overs of some kind. And when a kid runs up and bowls a good ball, there aren't enough young boys at 10, 11, 12, I know because my grandson's that age, who actually respect that and stop it and wait for the bad one, which they'll get. Yeah. They'll get, at that age, they'll get 4 bad ones and over.
Correct.
And when they're first-class cricketers, they'll only get 1 every 2 overs, maybe. But they're not prepared to wait, so they get out. And it's the good kids. I just watch, when I go and watch him, I watch the other boys as well, obviously. And when I see a guy in a limited overs game leave the ball, especially an opening batsman, or just play a forward defensive or a back defensive, I go, he can play.
Yeah, exactly.
Because already mentally he knows what he's trying to do. He's trying to stay at the crease because he knows that he will get enough bad balls to get a score.
Yeah. Robin, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
No,
it's
terrific.
been such good insight. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.
You've made my day.
My pleasure. Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you so much, man.